Hello everyone, this is In-Game Arts with another boxing, another offline product gaming review. This is Dead Space for the PlayStation 3. To jump right into it, my physical copy here is the base vanilla version of the game, so the on-disc version is 1.0. There was obviously an update, but as I've always said, I don't play my games with these updates as well as that since PS3 servers will be shutting down at some point, I won't be bothered to check online or anything like that to check if there was updates, or I do know there was an update available, but I just don't see any reason to do tests for online stuff. I'm just going to leave my PS3 completely offline. But I went into Dead Space, and it's a game I have fond memories and love for, and again, it's another game I really didn't have to run through again because I played Dead Space long before I even had high-speed internet, so I do know the game works completely offline. But I went back into Dead Space because I did see some odd complaints about the fact that the original Dead Space desperately needs this remake that's be coming out here soon. And I really wanted to come back and replay Dead Space to see, well, it hasn't aged as bad as people are trying to say it or claim that it has. Now, I am a retro gamer, and I do know Dead Space like the back of my hand. So maybe my problem is I know the game too well and nostalgia blind, but I wanted to go back to it and see, has it aged bad? Has it named graphically or mechanically or anything like that? Now, I didn't experience any massive game-breaking bugs, but I did experience some like hiccups and oddities here and there, but nothing that prevented me from progressing. But I did have a lot of frame rate drops. That was significant. I mean, not to the point was slideshow, but you would have noticed the choppiness a little bit. That was the only big gripe I had, and it happened in very peculiar areas. Not because there was like a bunch of enemies on the area, but more that in level environment design, it kind of frame rate dropped. So, I mean, it became like chattery, not really slideshow, but chattery. But going into Dead Space after like 5 years of not playing it, I mean, it aged actually extremely well. The game played and functioned, and mechanically it did work. There are some benefits of newer Dead Space that the first one is missing, like to be able to recharge your stasis effect without having to go to your inventory, as well as that the little bit of the camera angles can be a little close. I think the second or third one, they moved the camera a little back behind, further away from Isaac. Other than some minor things that you might want to gripe about, the only like graphical issue I've noticed is that environment-wise, since the game is so dark, it makes it be able to hide it. But when you start looking at a lot of the ground and the walls and certain objects, it does have some poor assets of skin environment design. It's not bad or anything like that. Now, I'm a retro gamer, so I play like Super Nintendo, PlayStation 1, so it still looks better than those games, but I still think the game holds up significantly well. Now, that doesn't mean I don't think the game doesn't need a remake. I was more hoping that we would have gotten like a trilogy set like Mass Effect did, and then later on gotten the Dead Space remake. But I am still happy we are getting a remake, and I am looking forward to it. Now, if you don't know anything about Dead Space, it's a game that was heavily inspired by the movie The Thing and Event Horizon, and maybe a few other little things that I'm forgetting. But the Thane movie is one of my most favorite creature flicks movies of all time. Event Horizon is a good concept movie, but I didn't really get into the characters in the movie. But it definitely has a good setup, and putting those together with space and sci-fi and horror is just a perfect combination. It's both genres I love greatly. But you play as Isaac Clarke, and you're looking for your wife on the Ishimura, and clearly things are going wrong, and you just basically got to go through the game and try to survive. It's got a lot of the things that I do love, progression-wise, where you upgrade your weapons and your armor, which allows you to shoot more, reload faster, have more health, so on and so forth. As well as it got some in-game store where you go buy supplies like health packs and ammo. That's one of my most favorite progression mechanics in gaming, is upgrading your equipment and armor and stuff like that. Not so much like a looter shooter where you drop enemies and environments, you're constantly picking up newer guns. I like having one gun and constantly upgrading that one gun. It's one of my most favorite ways of progressing. But in the end, I still beat the game completely on hard difficulty. I always go through the game with just a plasma cutter, which is the first gun you get in the game, and it's the most versatile. I've always played it this way. I've beaten Dead Space so many times, and it does have an interesting little older problem where once you beat the game on your first through, you unlock Impossible Mode. Now, if you do not start Impossible Mode immediately and make a save slot, and just quit the game and come back, Impossible Mode will be locked. You have to reload your complete save and then exit out and go back to the main menu, and then Impossible is unlocked. It's very odd. Just make sure when you unlock Impossible Mode, if you're curious to play in Impossible Mode, you have to make a save real quick, or you have to reload your old save that you completed the game with to get Impossible Mode. It's very odd. I mean, it's got some older game design problems, but mechanically, environment, voice acting, story, it's all just top tier. It's still very well done and still puts you on the edge. It's not really fair to me to say that I can't find the game scary because I know the game so well, and I could be just being nostalgic blind. That could be very well the case, but I still had a phenomenal time with the game, beginning to end, and I didn't really have any issues with controls or mechanics or anything like that in the game, other than on launching my stasis effect, where it slows down the enemy. Where you shoot it, sometimes I even shot it completely over the enemy, even though I was pointing at them. This can be very odd at times. I do think that could be fixed in a remake, because like I shot it a few times and it went over them or off to the side of them. It's very odd where the projectile comes from the status effect. But I don't know really what else much to say other than I do look forward to the remake. It's coming out here soon, and the creators are working on the protocol, or Castella Protocol or something like that. That's from the original Dead Space creators, which I'm really interested in playing that as well. Like I said, I'm worried about the remake, other than them changing certain things and censoring, and that's also an issue. I wanted them to remaster the original 3 in case when the remake comes out, EA doesn't delist the original one. You can no longer play the original one, since that seems to be popular with these AAA studios. Now, I do want to emphasize that maybe people were complaining on the fact that the controls are highly outdated on PC. That could be the case, because I have heard that the PC ports from EA's older games weren't the greatest, like the controls, mouse, and keyboard. That could be what people are complaining about and really want a remake for PC, because PC might be more updated in its controls, while console, it plays great on console, so I don't know what anyone who could complain about the controls. Now, I don't know the PC version, I've never played the PC version, but that's what could people complaining about the controls-wise, mechanically. But, I mean, if you have the Xbox 360 or the PS3 version of the game, it's a phenomenal time. It's great to run back through the game. First one is a lot more focused on horror and just the immersion, while Dead Space 2 acknowledges that you probably already know Dead Space. It's definitely more horror on that one, but it's a bit of mix between action and horror, while the third one does get a lot of trouble. A lot of people call it trash and a bad game. I don't think the third one's a bad game. It's actually a phenomenally good game. It's just, it went away from the horror and it has other little bitty issues that maybe when I ever get around to covering the third one I could talk more about. But the third one is still a masterpiece in a gem in survival horror games, and it's one that if you're a fan of these kind of genre games, it's well worth your time to pick up, because what made Dead Space also so unique is the fact that you have to sever the enemies. You don't just shoot the heads or shoot the body, you have to cut the enemies up, as well as that what made me love Dead Space even more is that it really put a boot into Capcom and Resident Evil's butt to actually start putting more effort into their Resident Evil games, because a lot of what Dead Space has in it, I mean, like picking up items, dropping off items on the ground, going to a store, having an inventory slot, and like storage, when like Resident Evil 5 or Resident Evil 6 came out, and then you play a game like Dead Space, that's basically just dominated Resident Evil. I'm proud of that. I'm thankful for how they showed that Resident Evil back then really needed to start working on it, and they couldn't just keep riding on the Resident Evil name. So, in my opinion, Dead Space is well worth your time if you're into these kind of third, over-the-shoulder survival horror games. Great concept, great ideas, great gameplay. I mean, I don't know what else I could really say, because I'm sure everyone's already played it. It's been 15 years, but some people refuse to play older games. It's still weird when you see polls when people say, nope, I've never played it. It's like, why? Why have you not played it? So, like always, I try to leave links down in the description if you're interested to copy, which I highly recommend. I recommend all 3 of them, 1, 2, and 3. You'll hear people say the 3rd one's bad, which it's not as bad as people say it is, but it's not as good as 1 and 2. That's true. But, like always, thank you all for watching. I hopefully come back to more videos on the road. So, like always, thanks for watching. Bye-bye!